I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. It is Monday, November 12th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Abbott.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Foster. Here. Commissioner Pelleton.
Here.
Commissioner Olvani.
Here.
Commissioner Shelley.
Here.
Commissioner Wolf.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First on our agenda this evening is the approval of minutes from October 10th.
I'll move to approve the minutes from October 10th regular meeting.
Second.
Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes?
Yeah, I had one.
Okay.
I wasn't at the meeting, but I'm sure Joe Keefe on page 2
Factual areas.
did not say that there were several factual areas. He probably said there were several factual errors.
Oh, yes. Good catch.
Yeah,
That was my comment.
I was like, what?
We can make that change.
Any other comments or corrections?
Errors.
None.
All right, hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Pelleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Olvani.
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is communications and correspondence. As a board, we have received a large number of communications and correspondence in regards to the Canal Shores easement, something that we passed a resolution on at our last meeting. We've also received several communications regarding the stormwater management potentially being at the Centennial location. I believe that was all. I know I've gotten some since the meeting, and I've forwarded on to Steve, so they'll become part of the packet, moving forward. But does anyone else have any communications or correspondence?
All the same ones.
Yep, everything that's in the packet. Okay, we'll be moving along to recognition of visitors. Would like to remind everyone to please be courteous when speaking to us, and also remember that this is not a forum for complaints against any individual employees. If you have any such complaints, they can be directed to our executive director in a private matter, or if it is a complaint against the executive director, it can be handled by contacting me directly. So is there anyone that would like to speak to us? You have 3 minutes if you would like to do so. Okay. Hearing none, we will be moving forward then. Next on our agenda is the approval of the voucher list.
Yes. I move to approve the voucher list in the amount of $1,833,261.92. A copy of which is to be attached to and become a permanent part of the minutes of this meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? I had one. I noticed in the beginning, the very top 2 items are payments to WB Olson for Gilson Beach Pavilion. And then at the end of the report, it has them being subtracted out again.
Superintendent Holloway will
Curious
come up
as
and
to-
explain how that works.
Thanks. Sorry, it was just something that's a big chunk of money, so I was just curious as to why it was paid and then back out again.
Okay, actually, Superintendent Ulrich told me that WB Olson was thought at first to be the facilitator of making the payments to all the contractors, but they said no, we had to make the payments individually to each contractor.
Okay.
So we cut a check for the $392,000. They told us no, we couldn't do it that way. We reversed it out and issued checks individually to each contractor.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions? Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Pelleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Olvani.
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf.
Yes.
Voucher list is approved.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you. You will see in the report that we had late last month our annual Halloween event, Halloween Happening. Another successful event, over 500 children enrolled or paid the night of, which if you add 1, 2, 3, 4 adults with those children, we had well over 1,000 people in attendance for another fun year. And we look forward to doing it again next year. If you want more details on that, I recommend you read Superintendent Bingham's report for more details. Upcoming in the next month, we have 3 Committee of the Whole meetings that I can now report are scheduled. At the time I wrote the report, we had 2 scheduled with 1 pending. In 2 days, November 14th, we'll be holding a budget-based committee of the whole meeting to discuss the capital projects portion of the budget for next year, as well as looking forward as we do a 5-year capital plan. Then the next committee of the whole meeting will be 1 week from today on the 19th in this room at 6:30, and that will be regarding the stormwater project. And then in December on the 5th, that will be our last committee of the whole meeting regarding the budget, where we look at the entire budget of the entire district, all operations, all capital, all rolled up into one binder document for approval in the January meeting for the budget for 2019. Moving on to the next section of my report, but also dovetailing with the fact that we're having a stormwater meeting on Monday. There has been no real forward movement on the stormwater topic behind the scenes or with staff. We did have a meeting where Woodhouse Tanucci Architects came and met with our staff at the rec center to plan for possible future needs, to get their input so he could generate a concept and some reports that can be presented to the committee of the whole when they met. So that will come forward on Monday for your input and your take on that information. And then I have been asked to attend a meeting a Wednesday this week with the engineers hired by the village to specifically look at the question of community playfields versus Centennial. And what they have done as far as their conceptual design for trying to fill the need for stormwater management for those homes in that general location. And I'll be able to report on that at the committee of the whole meeting as well. Then I have an update in here as far as the Cook County easement request of the MWRD. On November 1st, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, MWRD, had their meeting at which I attended, President Wolf attended, Commissioner Abbott attended, as well as our legal counsel, Andrew Payne from Tressler LLP. We all spoke in opposition to the easement request from Cook County. We presented them the resolution that this board had approved in October, as well as all the communication and correspondence that had arrived as of 4 o'clock the day prior to the meeting, which had totaled 316 emails, of which 314 were in opposition to the easement, and 2 of them were from the Keefe family. Looking forward to your agenda, the items you have before you tonight. Underneath the Real Estate Committee, you have a lease agreement from Verizon Wireless for the installation of cellular equipment at Mallinckrodt. And then we have a surplus property ordinance regarding fitness equipment, as well as my favorite annual task of appointing one of you to attend the IAPD business meeting down at the state conference. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions for Director Wilson?
So next Monday's meeting on stormwater, I don't wish to put you on the spot, but because I didn't ask you this beforehand, but if you have any idea, like how that, I assume there's going to be an update for the board in terms of, and will there be anybody else there to present, say the village or anything, or do you know anything yet?
Don't anticipate it. You might recall that after we had a discussion at this board about how to handle this, I had asked the board to get me any requests for information so I could prepare for that meeting. I think as of this time, I haven't received any specific requests for any information. So other than what I've told you I'm going to provide you, I think you gave me some stuff. But other than that, I don't have a ton that I'm necessarily preparing. And between now and next Monday, other than this meeting with the village, I don't anticipate a whole lot of conversation. I have not invited any other entities to be there, but if the board would like that, I can extend those invitations.
Well, that's a good reminder to get you whatever might want to be covered. Looking forward to the meeting. Thank you, Steve. That's all. That's all.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move forward with committee reports. First on our agenda is the Lakefront Committee.
All right. The Lakefront Committee met past Monday, November 5th, at the CRC. And we had one visitor, and that visitor was trying to impress upon us that the spending money to replace the kayak racks instead of providing sailing beach bathrooms was unacceptable in his opinion. and that the Sailing Beach bathrooms should take precedence. We also had an update from Jerry Ulrich on the Gilson project. It is, as far as I understand from him, still on schedule. The underground utilities to the various buildings have been completed, and they're actually working now on forming up the structures. They had some examples for the architect of what the structures would be like for him to approve, and he did so. And so things are moving along there. The one sort of hiccup that we had, which I think is a fairly minor thing, or at least I think we all thought so, was that the village was not happy with our 12-foot wide sidewalk and bike path leading from Lake Avenue to the Michigan Avenue entrance, and they wanted it reduced to 10 feet instead of 12 feet combined, and they want it to be all concrete as opposed to a concrete sidewalk and an asphalt bike path. And then Steve left the meeting partway through to attend a village meeting about our tree variance, and I don't know, have you heard yet back from them, or do you have any idea when we would hear?
Sure. So attended the tree variance. We requested, as compared to code, to plant 18 less trees than the code would require. Various reasons stated, primarily the islands are required to have a tree in it per code, but we have more islands in our design than the code would require you to have, and the reason for that is stormwater management, as there to be sand, so the water would get drained there and percolate quickly, and if you had to put a tree there, you had to put soil in and amend the soil, and it would slow down the percolation, so we would rather not plant trees there. That, as well as preserving the views in line with the general concept that was started over a year ago when we started taking public input. And the Appearance Review Commission ultimately approved our request, which moves it on to the village board. They did make a request in conjunction with their approval that the village board consider asking us to plant additional trees somewhere else as a part of that. And there's some question whether that's even a legitimate request or not, and the village is figuring that out. And I don't know exactly what date it's going to be on the village board's agenda, but I think it's this month. It wasn't something that was going to wait a month.
Okay. And that's about it. It was the lightest action I've ever experienced in a lakefront committee meeting, which is wonderful.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions for the
I
Lakefront
know.
Committee? I know,
Shocking.
that's like, I'm like, normally it's such a
Reviewed the budget.
in-depth report.
Reviewed the budget.
We did review the budget.
I was going to say, but it was still a lengthy meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lengthy meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to Facility Operations Committee.
The Facilities Committee met tonight. Before this meeting, we had also a light meeting. The pool is starting their hiring efforts over Thanksgiving and otherwise quiet. At tennis, we experimented with not sending out the coupon books, and we saved around $4,000, and we gained 3 members, tennis members. And the new junior USTA Level 5 events brought in 32 players and about $2,000. And they have more events coming in December, specifically for the girls, so that new program is doing great. And then our high school retention rate was higher this fall. The girls' high school season just ended, and we went from 10.5 court hours to 18 court hours with high school girls. And then just a reminder that tennis is closed on Thanksgiving Day, but they'll be open on Friday. And at paddle, Tuesday through Thursday matches are in full swing. Anya made a change this year to coordinate all the food for the men's and women's teams, and that seems to be going well. And the new Sunday evening league has 7 teams and is going great. And we had a commissioner play last night in that league. That guy said it was fun. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for facilities? Hearing none, we will move forward with Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec met, and when was it? It says October 15th. Like all the other committees, it was a long committee meeting, but there wasn't a lot to report because it was mostly budget. We did get a Langdon update. We're very hopeful that we will have a new playground in Langdon before the end of the year, although it will have a temporary wood chip playing surface. The permanent playing surface would be installed in the spring. But otherwise, mostly budget, and got through that agenda in good order.
Thank you. Any
There-
questions?
Yeah, there hasn't been any activity there in quite a while, and there's no sign of any playground equipment.
Well,
I was wondering
Steve.
what,
I mean, there's a fair amount of work being done on the paving. That's, I think, what's taken most of the time. So
I
the
thought that was
permeable pavers.
completed almost a month ago.
No,
The
just
pavers.
No,
I
I
bel-
don't think so.
Yeah?
You want to talk?
It could be wrong.
I mean, I believe, and again, Jerry's not here, but I believe that they're waiting on playground equipment. The delivery of that equipment is really the critical path at this point. But that can be installed in November. That's not temperature sensitive.
Correct.
I don't have a date.
Nor do I.
Hopefully soon. Okay, thank you very much. On to Golf Operations Committee.
Okay, golf has met twice since we met last. We met on October 20th as well as November 10th. On October 20th, we did a review, other than our normal discussion about the conditions of the course and whatnot. We had a rather lengthy discussion about the business plan that we put forth last year. Steve went through the so-called SWOT analysis again that we did last year, and how we've done over the course of this past year relative to what we anticipated. As you may recall, we've had a relatively steady decline in traditional memberships, so we changed the business model to reduce to basically combat the reduction in memberships and trying to sell individual permanent tee times. So we discussed that in reasonable length. We also looked at the year in 4 2-month increments, because it's an 8-month season, how each 2-month period did relative to expectations, whether it be weather or budget and whatnot. And it was a pretty healthy discussion, and the general idea coming out of that discussion was, is there anything in particular that the committee was looking for when the staff came back with the budget? And the general recommendation was that we are undertaking a rather significant change in the operations, between the change in the clubhouse dining operations as well as the operation of the tea times and whatnot on the weekends, and that we should try to stay the course for at least another season. So that was the general idea. I would remind everybody that Commissioner Pelletin did say that he was looking for more revenue and less expense, right, in the budget, right, if I remember correctly. And then going into this past Saturday, we did receive our budget. We had a very healthy discussion about it because it was a lot, I guess, less optimistic than the previous year's budget was concerned. We are budgeting for not a positive operating profit, and we are simply trying to come up with as many expenses as we can to reduce. We had a lengthy discussion about whether or not it makes sense to rehire an assistant superintendent that we lost halfway through the year. After a fair amount of discussion led by Commissioner Foster, we agreed that it was a position that needed to be filled, and we were going to do our best to try to fill it with a compensation package that was fair to the employee as well as fair to the district. Then we also talked a little bit about, in regard to the budget, a little bit about the capital. There was some significant concern amongst all the commissioners that we are overspending from a capital expenditure standpoint next year in 2019. So kudos to staff. They came up with a a plan with their suppliers to get a zero financing package over a 3-year period. So instead of actually paying for all the new equipment we need in order to maintain the golf course in such a manner that is necessary, we're going to be able to buy all the equipment in year 1 but pay for it over a 3-year period. So that will smooth out our our capital budget expenditures over the next few years. So it was a healthy meeting, good discussion, both amongst the staff and as well as the commissioners.
Thank you. Any questions for the Golf Committee? Hearing none, we will move forward to Financial Planning and Policy Committee.
All right, the Financial Planning and Policy Committee met on October 22nd, and we had a healthy agenda for the evening. Started with reviewing ADA spending for 2018. I don't know if you guys all remember the big spreadsheet that we had from Bill Lambrick's time that had all the detail of all the projects and what the estimates were for the spend on that. That has resurfaced now. And we've knocked off a lot of the projects over the last year or 2 or 3 at this point in time. So that's we're just down to the point now where the list is getting down to the last few items. The schedule is now transitioning to Jerry, and Jerry may either take the existing schedule or he may completely redo it so it works for him, because it's a bear to kind of work with. So he's got that responsibility at this point in time. And then obviously the information on that schedule is one of the inputs we have into the tax levy for the Special Recreation Fund. And so that kind of leads us into the next topic, which was looking at the Special Rec Fund balance and the activity in it for 2018 and 2019 projected. And so far this year, up to the point where we had the meeting, the Special Rec Fund had not had dollars related to the 2018 capital spend transferred out of the fund yet. And then between the staff and the commissioners, we sort of did a quick back-of-the-napkin analysis of the special fund balance for 2018 and 2019 with the idea of trying to see kind of what we thought we might need to levy in 2019 with the 2018 levy in order to properly fund the account. And then what's happened since that point in time is Steve Holloway and Steve Wilson have kind of formalized that analysis and kind of confirmed what we thought was the case in terms of the fund balances. And so we're at a point now where we feel comfortable with the special rec portion of the tax levy, which we'll be talking about next. So it all kind of layers into each other here. With regard to the 2018 tax levy, there's the Truth in Taxation resolution tonight, but we've got a combination of the tax capped funds going up 0.9%, so less than 1%, and then the special rec fund is increasing 9.2%, so the net is 1.9% or 1.92% is the levy we're recommending. And then combined with the 15% reduction in the bond fund due to the retiring debt, the net for the whole thing is a decrease in the tax levy of $337,000 or 4.1%. So that's what people will see hopefully on their tax returns or something close to it. And the increase in the tax cap funds is lower than the 2.1% CPI increase due to the complexities of the cap formula, which limit the increase this year, and it also explains why we haven't been getting what we've been asking for in prior years. Steve Holloway did a bunch of digging over the last couple of months and figured this out, and Steve has reviewed it as well. So we've kind of got that, I think, figured out at this point in time. So.
If you have half an hour, he can explain it to you.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we'll be, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that means that we'll be able to better project what will be coming in as far as
Yes.
taxes?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out why we weren't getting what we asked for before.
Right.
Steve's gone into the detail and figured
Awesome.
it out. So, and then we also we had a compensation and benefits study. I don't know if you remember back in April or May, we approved, or the committee asked to have an RFP done to get a compensation study. We had 2 legitimate proposals come through and one that was sort of out of the ballpark. One of the 2 wasn't given the kind of detailed analysis that the other was because they misread what the cost was going to be, so I think they just kind of pushed it off to the side, and then we realized the cost isn't what they thought it was, so now they're going back and looking at it, so I think Liz is working on that. So we'll have two good proposals once they get through them both to look at. And then we also had a cybersecurity RFP. There are a couple really strong proposals, one of which was from a company called JCSM, which was clearly the best of the two proposals. And there were a few questions they were following up on at staff level, but the committee was happy to have the staff move forward with JCSM. So that was our meeting.
Excellent. Any questions for financial planning and policy?
I do have a question about the truth and taxation resolution.
Yep.
First of all, first is a comment, which is the note that we got here from Steve Holloway. If I was actually doing this myself, I would have bolded the fact that we have a 4.11% decrease. Decrease would have been bolded, not total, just because decreasing our taxes is a good thing for all of us, as well as our constituents. My other thing is really a question. When we talk about the 1.92% increase in the tax capped fund, once again, that's a great job in that it's lower than CPI, which I think is something that we all strive to do. But my question is that before or after Cook County's whatever adjuster or variance or whatever number they talk about?
There are 2% for
The 2%.
losses.
2% for uncollectible. It's before.
This is before?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
And my understanding is that we always present it.
That's
before.
correct. I just want to make sure.
Legally required to present it this way.
Commissioner Anderson, do you have a motion?
I do have a motion. I move to approve Resolution 2018-R-2, Truth and Taxation, as recommended by the Financial Planning and Policy Committee.
I'll second that.
Are there any questions or comments regarding this motion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott? Yes. Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovani?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you very much. Moving along to the Real Estate Committee, which has met since we last were here.
The Real Estate Committee met on October 29th with multiple items on the agenda. Under recognition of visitors, we heard from the Eichelberger family who lives on Richmond Lane, which backs up to the Green Bay Bike Trail. And they spoke about a piece of land that is owned by the Park District directly behind their house between their lot line and the bike trail. Just so you all know, there's probably about 20 properties which were sold to the other residents on Richmond Lane in the 80s and 90s. But this one was the only remaining parcel in the Park District control. So after hearing from the Eichelbergers and discussing as a committee, staff was instructed to bring to the committee some additional information, including reaching out to the neighbors on Richmond. We agreed to about a 250 feet radius, which is standard to what the village asked for. 250 feet of the Wilmette Park District owned parcel to solicit direct feedback on the possibility of selling the property to the Eichelbergers. We also reviewed a proposed lease document between the Park District and Verizon Wireless to install cellular equipment on the chimney at Mellencrot to replace the prior equipment that has been in there. It's been in place for 10 years, which was U.S. Cellular. We discussed the lease terms with staff, and ultimately and unanimously, we agreed to recommend the Board of Park Commissioners approve the lease, and it's an action item on our agenda tonight. All the other items that we discussed were during closed session. So with that being said, I move to approve the lease agreement with Verizon Wireless for the installation of cellular equipment on the maintenance building chimney at Mallinckrodt as recommended by the Real Estate Committee.
Second.
Thank you. And as Shelley stated, this is a place where there's already been cellular towers for the past 8 years?
10 years.
10 years? So it's nothing new to that structure.
Nope.
And it'll improve Verizon phone service for many who have.
I can actually get home without dropping my call on Lake Avenue. I'm real excited.
Yes.
Somebody who lives in that dead
It should be a
zone.
benefit for many.
Not
Whether
only-
you
well,
have Verizon or you're talking to people who have Verizon.
I'm not only looking forward to better cell service, but also the $40,000 a year
Yes.
extra that the park
Yes.
district will pick up on that lease.
Perfect. Any other questions or
Yeah,
comments?
And I assume that this is the case, but we've had the legal representation review this contract.
Oh, yes, yes, extensive back and forth between Verizon's legal and our legal counsel to develop this,
And commissioners, too.
and commissioners.
Any other questions? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletin?
Yes?
Commissioner Olvani?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf?
Yes.
The lease is approved.
Thank you. I think that does it for committee reports. Anything else under committees? Hearing nothing, we will move forward to unfinished business. We have a stormwater project on our agenda here, and I'll turn it over to
I've
you. Any
given you
other-
the update during the director's report.
Okay.
So if there's any other comments or questions or thoughts from the commissioners, I guess this would be the time.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that we're having a committee of the whole meeting next Monday, 6:30, to discuss this topic and this topic only. So it should be
6:30
here in
In
this
this room.
chambers, and I believe it will be televised.
We're working
Okay.
with the local Comcast franchise to see if they can staff it, record it, broadcast it, archive it on the website, do all of that.
We will do our best to get all the information out to everybody, so it's fine. Any other questions on stormwater? All right, hearing none, we will move forward to new business. And we have the appointment of a delegate for an IAPD meeting.
Yes, I move to appoint Commissioner Wolf, is this right?
Go for it.
As delegate, and Director Wilson as alternate to represent the Wilmette Park District at the IAPD Annual Business Meeting to be held January 26, 2019.
I'm going to defer the second to the president if she would like to second that motion.
I second it, sure. Unless
Hopefully-
there's anyone else that would really like to go, and everyone's welcome to go anyway. Like,
I went,
it's not
it
like
was
a.
great, yeah.
I
Yeah.
plan to be there Friday.
Okay, great. Any other
Can't wait.
questions, comments? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletin?
Yes.
Commissioner Olvani?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Finally, on our new business, is approval of an ordinance to dispose of property, which is something that we do regularly to get rid of old equipment when we purchase new things, so.
Yeah, I'm going to move to approve ordinance 2018-0-8, an ordinance providing for the disposal of certain surplus property.
I'll second it.
Thank you. And again, this is fitness equipment from the gym. I believe it's 2 Pilates reformers. I can't remember what else was on the list of.
Some other very small items.
Equipment that's
All the
not.
curved
Yeah,
stuff.
equipment that we
Right, some
purchased
equipment
from
that we
Curbs.
purchased that's not being used, so they will be removing it and putting in equipment that will have more consistent use at the fitness facility.
Is this sold? What, how is this?
I think they're
disposed
looking
of?
to sell it.
We're talking to different entities.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletin?
Yes.
Commissioner Olvani?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved.
Thank you very much. Anything else under new business? Hearing none, I move to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Kathy?
Total info. News. Info, business and financial highlights.